Today we're going to decode the story of how a major industrial player, Aarti Industries, completely reinvented itself. And they did it in just 6 years. It's a really fascinating look at how a company can make some pretty bold choices to totally redefine its future.
You know, that's a really good question, right? We tend to think of these huge corporations as these slow-moving giants kind of stuck in their ways. But the story of Aarti Industries, well, it shows us that with the right strategy, even the biggest players can be incredibly nimble.
And the whole story, the proof, it's all buried inside public financial filings. You know, this dense, complex-looking data. So our goal today is to cut right through all that noise and show you the clear, simple story that's hiding in these numbers.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll get to know the company. Then we're going to rewind the clock to 2018 to see where this all started. From there, we'll trace the strategic shifts that led to its massive 2024 transformation and, most importantly, what it all actually means for their performance.
Okay, so our focus today is squarely on Aarti Industries, and we're just sticking to the facts. The story we're about to walk through is pieced together directly from their own public financial filings. This gives us a totally unfiltered look at how they evolved. To really, truly understand this transformation, we need to start at the beginning. So let's jump back in time to the first quarter of 2018 and get a clear picture of what Aarti Industries looked like back then.
So, in early 2018, Aarti was what you'd call a diversified, multi-segment company. They were bringing in nearly 11 billion rupees in quarterly revenue, and that money was coming from 3 totally distinct divisions. This is our starting point, our before picture.
But here, this is the crucial detail. Even though they had 3 segments, one of them was already the clear powerhouse. Specialty chemicals made up a whopping 79% of the revenue. It was just dwarfing the other 2. This imbalance is the absolute key to understanding everything that happened next.
All right, now let's fast forward to 2020. This is when the first major move in this whole transformation becomes really obvious. The data from the end of that fiscal year shows a huge strategic pivot, and it was almost certainly driven by that crazy revenue imbalance we just saw.
And there it is. By 2020, Aarti had already started streamlining. They went from 3 segments down to 2. The Home and Personal Care division, which, remember, was the smallest piece of the pie, was just gone from their financial reports.
Now, this wasn't an accident, of course. This was a clear, deliberate, strategic move. By getting rid of a non-core asset, Aarti freed up capital, management attention, you name it, so they could double down on their stronger divisions. This was the first major step toward specialization.
And that brings us all the way to mid-2024, where the final stage of this transformation is finally complete. The company we see now is just fundamentally different from the one we started with back in 2018.
But you know, shedding that one division, that was just the beginning. The next step they took was even more significant. It fundamentally reshaped the company's entire identity. To really get how big this next step was, we need to quickly define what a single-segment company is. Unlike a diversified company that juggles a bunch of things, a single-segment company focuses all its resources, all its energy, on one primary business area, the thing it does best.
And there it is, straight from their 2024 filing. By this year, Aarti Industries had officially become a single-segment company. The transformation was complete. They went from 3 divisions all the way down to 1, focusing only on their original powerhouse, specialty chemicals.
But here's the billion-dollar question, right? What did all this focus actually mean for the company's performance? Did getting rid of 2/3 of their business help or hurt their bottom line? Let's take a look at the numbers.
The results are, well, they're pretty remarkable. Back in 2018, with 3 segments, their quarterly revenue was 10.78 billion rupees. By 2024, with just 1 segment, that number had skyrocketed to over 17 billion. By narrowing their focus, they achieved incredible financial growth.
So Aarti's 6-year journey gives us some really powerful lessons. They figured out their core strength and went all in. They made the tough, bold decisions to sell off parts of their business that weren't essential, and ultimately they proved that specialization can be an incredibly powerful engine for growth.
And this leaves us with a really compelling question. For years, the conventional wisdom in business has always been diversify, diversify, diversify. But Aarti's success story suggests that maybe, for some companies, the future lies in a totally different direction. A relentless, laser focus on doing one thing better than anyone else.